Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios News Break Show. Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 noon. Chris Young with you today. Got a whole bunch of stories and topics to share with you. A lot of stuff going on in this world of ours and across this nation and up in this state right here and in our beautiful city of Jackson, Mississippi. So 86 degrees in Jackson right now, maybe heading for 88. Maybe a shower a little later on today. We'll see how that goes. But the first piece of news from Kherson in Ukraine, they had a dam breach. It's unclear how the breach occurred, but they had a dam breach several days ago, leaving hundreds of thousands without drinking water. And of course, they're at war with the oppressor, Russia. So we don't know if that was an intentional thing or not, but so many people without drinking water and thousands of people having to be evacuated that are downstream of the dam. President Zelensky said 80 different towns and villages are at risk of flooding. All kinds of photos of that on the the cable stations and so forth. So it's just a grind over there for Ukraine. They're a strong people. They don't give up easy on things, and and then to have this happen, it's just a setback. So we keep them in our prayers and just hope for the best over there. We certainly know about water issues here in Jackson. The head of CNN is out. Apparently, there's all kinds of internal turmoil following the Trump town hall last month. Felt like he got given extra license to spew his rhetoric. And this guy, Chris Light, had only been on the job for 12 months as the CEO of CNN, is being replaced on an interim basis by somebody that's been with them for a long, long time and heavy on the film side of things. Her name is Amy Entelis. Serve as the interim CEO till they find somebody new, or who knows, maybe it'll turn out to be her. A story coming out yesterday about the Live golf thing, and it's the heavy involvement by Saudi Arabia, so it kind of shifts over to a global story. They set up this new league, started luring players with millions and millions of dollars away from the PGA Tour, and so the PGA and this Saudi public investment fund tour that they call Live, L-I-V, have been at war and in the courts and for a better part of a year. Players like Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy stood with the PGA when many others, including Mickelson, and others went to the other side, making lots and lots of money to do so. But yesterday and the day before, it was put out that the two sides have decided to merge together now. So big story in golf. Golf really not my thing, but anyway, big story, and really holding some of the best players in the world out to dry that stuck with the PGA Tour and lost out on millions to do so, and now they're being thrown back in there. Rory McIlroy from Ireland, he says he still hates the Live tournament. So it's interesting, you follow the money, but just unlimited capital in Saudi Arabia, and look like they're going to decide the future of golf as we do it here in the PGA. So big news on that, especially if you're a golf fan. in the U.S. states, and we've mentioned this last week, but all kinds of wildfires in Canada. They say 150 different active fires, starting off a fierce start to the summer season. Many of those were in Nova Scotia, but they're actually spread out all over Canada, So the smoke is starting to drift south, causing air quality alerts in the northeastern U.S. and beginning to head to the midwestern U.S. and smoke alerts. So they're trying their best to get those fires under control, but the smoke is unyielding, and it's making its way down to the United States. Just a really ugly story next. It really could be a national story or go under the global heading, but 5 years ago, the Pennsylvania Attorney General released a report detailing over 300 Catholic clergy having abused over 1,000 minors. And that had gone back over a period of about 60 years. And that was 5 years ago that was released. When word came out of that was maybe the next to last time that I attended the Catholic Church. And now we have a new report from the Illinois Attorney General. Over 2,000 minors abused by 450 clergy. It goes back to 1950, 1960, but still, and this has gone on all over the world. Australia, of course, in Canada, the Philippines, France, all kinds of countries all over the world. Just a stunning, and this all came out really in the Boston area, the Boston diocese, and that movie Spotlight. That came out in the beginning of this around 2000, 2005, and that kind of set the whole thing in motion. Since then, the Southern Baptist Convention has finally, under pressure, unveiled their own sexual abuse scandal in this country, and it's tough to grasp. Gallup did a poll. It showed the number of Catholics who claim they are members of the Catholic Church has declined 20% in the last 20 years. And there was some, they surveyed about over 6,000 people. So the Protestants in the same period of time declined, to identify as claiming membership. They declined 9%. So 20% Catholic decline in claiming membership, 9% for the Protestants. Not sure exactly how that lines up with actual butts in the pew each week and filling those collection plates. But just a horrific. When you turn your craziness to, I've written, knowing something personal about this subject, I've written to the Pope 3 different times, and never get a response. But, I just one person, I guess, so they just don't have time for all that. But, it's just tough when you have families that, raised in a particular faith, and they turn their little angels, their little lambs, over to the care and feeding, if you will, of these churches and these daycares and these religious programs and summer camps and all this. And of course, they pay top dollar to do that, but they do so thinking that they're with trust in mind, and then to see that their children, stained by the sickness of of other people, that would not hesitate a minute to abuse children, adolescents. It's just such a sad story. And it's really tough when you turn on the Google machine, try to get to the bottom of, well, what is the grand total? What is the numbers at now? Really tough. It's almost like you got to look at it case by case. But in 20 different states in the United States right now, there's pending investigations in 20 different states. There's a white woman, 58 years old, named Susan Louise Lorenez, I think it's pronounced. Now, she fatally shot her black female neighbor, who's 38, Ajiki Owens, a mother of 4. So this 58-year-old white lady shot her through her front door. And this lady, the shooter, has been arrested. It took all kinds of pressure. The AP reported that there's a feud been going on between these two women for 2.5 years. And the sheriff says, of course, this is Ocala, Florida. So, you got that whole stand your ground thing. Remember Trayvon and what's his name, Zimmerman? You got that whole thing going on out down there, stand your ground. So, but the sheriff say this is not a stand your ground situation. It's just a killing, plain and simple. 58-year-old white woman shoots her black female neighbor to death, shoots the mother of 4 children to death. Something she's doing, something she's saying, she didn't like her, so she just killed her. More killings up in Richmond, Virginia over the weekend, adjacent to the Virginia Commonwealth University campus in Richmond, Virginia theater, the Atria Theater. 7 people shot, numerous people, over a dozen people injured in all the commotion. 7 people shot, 2 shot fatally following the graduation ceremony. Just hard to believe. This was on Saturday. A 19-year-old suspect who initially fled, was later arrested. One of the 2 killed, if you can even believe this, had just graduated. An 18-year-old had just graduated. The other man that was killed was a 36-year-old man. I didn't see any information about the race of those. I'd tell you this, VCU is in downtown Richmond, and very high percent of African-American students, and good university. Sad to report that. Hollywood actors, it was the writers starting on May 2nd, forming on the picket lines, and we see that. Last night I was surfing through the channels a little bit, and every last one of the the late night shows, the Kimmel and the what's his name, the searching through there, and every last one of them was running reruns from earlier in the year. One station was running something from 2022. So the writers are already on strike, and that's impacting the programming that we see and that we pay for, by the way. Well, now the actors have laid down the gauntlet. And apparently, among other things, artificial intelligence is somehow tied into all this. People want to incorporate the use of artificial intelligence, and therefore perhaps have to pay less people, to do all this writing if AI can do some of the writing for them. So there's 3 guilds, and all 3 guilds have spoken out deeply about all this. The actors union overwhelmingly voted to strike, and they gave them the studios until the end of June to get this straightened out, or the actors themselves would go on strike. Overwhelming vote on that. If we got any basketball fans out there, Game 3 tonight in Miami. Miami hosting the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets had like 53 wins or something this season. a much better winning percentage than Miami. Miami just barely got into they had to do a play-in tournament to get in, to the association finals, and but they went right through Milwaukee. And then they end up taking down the legendary Boston Celtics in 7 games. And so here they are in the finals. The series is tied 1-1. Game 3 tonight in Miami. Who's it going to be? Who you got? Who's going to prevail in the association finals? Another story on the national level. Witnesses lining up to testify in the Trump classified documents investigation. Apparently hanging on to classified documents happens, but this guy seemed like he went out of his way to do this, and now they got some video that's, in his own words, is very damaging, so we'll see how this plays out. So we'll skip out now for a couple of commercials, and then we'll be right back with you.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippi.link.com and click on Home Delivery.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the WeBelieve.global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at WeBelieve.global.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital. So glad you're joining us today. Our twice-a-week news break show. Just trying to recap stories that are going on that hopefully you be of interest to you. And some stories very popular on the various networks and so forth, but some maybe not getting as much attention. We want to bring those to you. Little shenanigans going on Saturday, back on Saturday in the Taiwan Straits. The U.S. had said and showed the video of a Chinese warship coming within 150 yards of the USS Chung Hoon, which is a battle cruiser. While it was conducting routine operations with a Canadian ship, this is all international waters, but the Chinese ship cut across the bow of this is really against what they call the international rules of the road, and 150 yards is real close proximity, when you're traveling at, 12 or 14, wherever speed they were going, it becomes a big deal. So looks like provocative behavior. It's not good seamanship, and the Chinese understand seamanship just like we do. So they're up to something there. And we had just reported to you last week on this broadcast that the same thing happened with airplanes about a week before that. A really close call. So much so that the American spy plane, the RC-135, was you could see the pilot bumping in his seat from the jet wash of the jet that had flown directly in front of them. So a lot of stuff going on over there, and our Secretary of State Blinken is heading soon or heading today to China for some high-level talks. So hopefully something can come out of that, because it seems like we're not on a good trajectory with China, and we need to get that reoriented. So down onto the Mississippi news for you. Again, another day, no Republicans calling for hearings or conducting hearings on the massive TANF scandal. You know, some reports $77 million, others up to $94 million pilfered. This is American tax, not Mississippi, but American taxpayer money pilfered by Republican leaders for special projects, you know, rehabs out in Malibu and automobiles and first-class flights and fitness trainers for Governor Reeves and volleyball stadium for Brett Favre, and, you know, all taken out of the fund that's intended to be a safety net for the very poorest people in Mississippi. But the higher ups, all Republican folks, pilfering that money, stealing that money, embezzling that money, putting it into their own interests, into their own issues and interests that have nothing to do whatsoever with helping poor people. So sad commentary. This is Mississippi. And this is why, even though Mississippi is a very beautiful state with many, many beautiful people, the horrible deeds that go on here, it sometimes make you forget how beautiful a state it really is. And many, many days here, it's just sizzling in Mississippi. And speaking of that, a new federal lawsuit filed by the Mississippi Poor People's Campaign and the Jackson Undivided Coalition, along with Mississippi Votes, People's Advocacy Institute, Black Voters Matter. This is about that Senate Bill 2343, where that's passed into law, and these lawsuits trying to get an injunction about freedom of speech. You know, so the new law says that you can't gather or protest or anything like that on any sidewalk or any street near the sidewalk adjacent to any state building. You know what that's all about. I mean, you know what that's all about. I mean, the truth is that we could drive up to D.C. right now and go right up to that fence. Go right up to that fence outside the White House and protest all day long. Say anything you want to say, put up any sign you want to put up, and we don't have to do an application or file anything or get permission. It's called the First Amendment, called freedom of speech. But here in Mississippi, they say now you got to get either the advanced written permission from the safety commissioner, a white man appointed, an appointed white man named Sean Tyndall, or another appointed white man, the Capitol Police Chief, Bo Luckey. And they're the ones that get to dictate our free speech here, and that's what this lawsuit is going after. So we wish them well. That was just filed the end of last week. Protesters on the street yesterday, I don't know if they had to get an application filled out to try to hold UMMC's Luann Woodward accountable for closing the LGBTQ plus clinic without communicating properly with patients. There's certain fundamental rights within healthcare, but just like if your dentist is old and they get ready to retire or something like that, they gotta inform you of that. They gotta let you know of other providers that are available, and they gotta let you know what's gonna happen to your records. So nasty deed. So, you know, they've been open since 2015. Is this another case like it was with the COVID? I mean, is this another case of Republican politics usurping, you know, physician-directed health care? The director of the clinic was shocked. The director of the clinic was not informed until it happened. So that tells you it's all from above. And this Dr. Luann Woodward, the head of UMMC, not responding to inquiries. Now, granted, she's in a tough position because she have to go to legislature every year to get millions of dollars to keep the health system going. You know, the health system that's ranked 49th in the country, that's ranked 50th in healthcare quality, that's ranked 46th in public health, and 48th in access. She have to go get millions every year to keep our horrible healthcare system going. But she also going to be under pressure because the powers that be down here, they don't like anything to do with LGBTQ plus, anything to do with trans, anything to do with anything that's not in their mind normal, whiteness. And it's a sad commentary, and the next story down, St. Dominic's, just on Monday, they report they're going to lay off 157 workers. Now, when you have a state healthcare system that's hurting so badly, people are suffering, people in remote areas having to drive 100 miles, and that's just assuming they got an automobile to get them there. To get to a clinic, to get to a health service, St. Dominic laying off 5.5% or 157 workers, and they halt their mental health services. So they're no longer accepting any more mental health patients at St. Dominic's. Really, really sad. It just tells you, what's going on. And a little bit more on that. Two other systems, is it Ochsner? The Ochsner Health System and the Gulfport Memorial reduced their workforces last month. Apparently there was a gesture. They say that these entities received less than half of what they requested from the state legislature, and they received less than half of what their annual request was from the legislator for healthcare services. So they got less than half of what they asked for, but then the mechanism that's in place to try to actually access that monies has got some glitches in it, and they're having trouble accessing the little amount of money that they did get. So just a really horrible situation with all that. Mississippi healthcare not improving. And, it seemed like there's some type of responsibility about, the health of your residents. Does anybody bear any responsibility? And this isn't happening. In the midst of a financial drought. This is happening in the midst of the greatest surplus that Mississippi has ever had by many, many reports. And so you'd think that the health and welfare of their people, passing Medicaid, the health and welfare of their people would be high up there on the list. But it's not up there on the list. And so really sad news on that. We'll try and keep an eye on that and keep you posted on that. When we get down into Jackson and Hinds County, a couple of different stories here. Number one, another college president stepping down, this time Carmen Walters. Heard many, many people say really great stuff about Dr. Walters. Stepping down as president of Tougaloo at the end of this month. Dr. Donzel Lee will serve as the interim. There was a petition started. I was shown the petition a few months ago, either January or February. I was shown a petition that had begun circulating. That kept growing. Dr. Walters tried last month to kind of quell all that, saying that, this isn't really alumni that were doing this or current students that were doing this. It was maybe a few bad apples that didn't agree with administrative decisions, but it doesn't appear that in the end that all panned out as she agreed to step down at the end of this month. Jackson received the first $115 million out of $600 million from the feds, but there was another $200 million from a separate Fed. So it was really $800 total coming to us from the feds to help with the water. We're always still waiting to see what the state of Mississippi is going to do. You know, they tried to get their hands on that federal money, but failed. This $150 million that's now in the hands of the city of Jackson and the third-party administrator is all secured by this federal contract. So and again, they went right past the state of Mississippi because they have ample, the EPA and others had ample evidence that the state of Mississippi has neglected Jackson water and sewer infrastructure for decades. And so they knew all that, and so they sent the money straight to us rather than send it to the state and let the state give it to us because we know what they would do with it. Another story on the local level, council meeting yesterday. Councilman Stokes, who recently lost his spouse, but his most recent, he gets agitated and got a lot to say. He likes to say, kind of sling different allegations and stuff. Well, his most recent agitation at city council meeting yesterday was over what he said what he says is $1 million. He says he got the proof. I don't know if he presented the proof, but he said he got the proof. Over $1 million missing from grants. That whole thing with this lady, Keisha Sanders, who has pleaded guilty. But Stokes, by different JTV and LBT, different reporting I looked at, saying that, he called out Dr. Omari, the administrative officer, chief of staff rather, called her out 3 different times as a thief. Woo! Ha. Wow. Got in a shouting match with the mayor. I mean, Councilman Stokes, are we moving forward? Is this helping us move forward? Do we really believe that $1 million was stolen? I don't know. If there's proof, well, let's see the proof. And let's just stop calling people names and let's see the proof. The council did vote. I believe he abstained, but the council did vote to hire a compliance officer and a grant specialist. So now apparently different departments are writing their own grants, but by doing this, they'll have a central position that'll just be issuing grants left and right, grant proposals, requests left and right. So that's a good thing. Gas prices down 33% from a year ago. That's got to be a good thing. Here in Mississippi, averaged out. In Napa, we're about $2.98 right now. In Napa, California, it's $5.04, and in Hawaii, it's $5.23. We are out of time, but I got these 2 little stories I'm just going to tuck in there and ask the producers forgiveness. This is not in Hinds County, but on Saturday, the Rankin County NAACP is hosting a town hall at Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church in Brandon. This is following up free lunch at noon, town hall at 1 o'clock, Pilgrim Rest Church, following up on the Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker torture at the hands of Rankin County Sheriff's deputies. So in case you want to follow up on that, I do think I'll go over there. Also, lastly, 10 different players attending high school in Jackson are now represented in the Auburn Regional, where Southern Miss has advanced. And so that's great to see that high level representation of students that now they're going to different schools now, not schools in Jackson, but still they got their start here, and they're representing us very well in the Auburn. In the Auburn Regional. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you Friday at noontime. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you soon.